got the boat cleaned out. Clamps off the stern thwart there. Pretty happy with how it's looking. It's very close to being able to move on to finish of the interior. I think the plane and the lines all look right. A couple of more small things. A couple of stiffening strips like I did on Brian and Kim's boat. I think I'll go ahead and do that. Just 3/4 inch by 1/4 inch sapele laid down in there because this is a fairly wide expanse. Could take a lot of stress. Alright, made some strips and just kind of centering them in this open space. It'll be when you're sitting on the bench, kind of where your heels could go, I guess. Could be seen as a little bit of a foot anti-slip device, or maybe helping hold stuff that's set under the bench. For that purpose, I suppose it should be a little further up or a little further down, but it's really just to add some stiffness to this big center panel. So, put some tape down and see if we can get these glued in. Alright, we're going to do these guys and then do a big round of caulking around our one thwart and stern thwart. Icing bag. Thank you, Deb. Well, another milestone here, maybe. A free trailer from my brother. This is a kit for a folding trailer. It may or may not suffice for a boat, but it's intriguing and it's free. I'm just got to make him a hickory bench. It's been sitting for 10 years and he had never put it together, so. Trailer. I'm going to stick it in the garage and maybe put it together. Another milestone. First hardware purchase. These are custom designed Oarlocks. I was meeting with a friend of my neighbor's named Robin Flood, who has a manufacturing company here in town, and sketched on a napkin what these might look like. And a week later, there were 2 sets. The first set's with Brian and Kim for their boat that I was making at the time. And this solves a problem that I encountered with that boat, which is getting the oars up in the air so they don't rub on the edge of the rails as they're going back and forth without having to put a great big mount on there. This is also where you want to sit most of the time when you're solo sailing and you want to lean out, get the tiller and the sheet. So you don't want a big lump there. So these guys get them up in the air, and it worked really well. And Brian and Kim, nicely enough, gave me the spare set, which Robin, nicely enough, made for us. So the first hardware purchase is to figure out how to mount this through the rail. And unlike Brian and Kim's boat, there's a lot less room. There's this side bench in there, I guess. They didn't have that. So I got to think about this. I'm thinking we have a piece there and a piece there, and I have to re-drill the cotter pin hole to be in the gap because there's not room for this all to go through without running into the seat. This guy will sit up on the rail. Ooh. It's a little tight. I have to grind it out a little bit. There we go. So this will sit up on the rail and some backing underneath the rail to distribute that force down to the hull. And this will sit through the seat, again with some backing under the seat to distribute that torque. And then we'll drill a hole where you can reach under the rail and put the cotter pin in and out. And I think that'll work pretty well. Went ahead and got the old masking round off, getting closer to trying to finish this thing. I've been pondering how to make this Oarlock brace and realizing this guy's sitting right on the rail, let down in, that'll work nice. This guy ends up, you can give it flush to the bottom of the side bench, But that pin needs to be able to do a 180 underneath the rail, and it gets really tight. And what I'd like to do is build a block that locks in the rail, the stringer, the seat, and the hull, and those brass bearings all into a unit and distributes that stress. But it's a beautiful cold day. I think what I'm going to do, get the shop temps up, and hit everything that has not had one coat with epoxy, and defer putting in the Oarlock mounts. Looking forward to seeing what the grain does when we hit it with this first coat of finish. It might help. One piece that sits down underneath the stringer, a little bit not as tall. Two more pieces laid in there that come up all the way to the rail. Shape that with a little hole for the cotter pin and make it kind of look nice, hopefully. Glue it all together, two versions of that. So to start with, we need 4 pieces that are 6 inches by 2.5 tall, and then 2 pieces that sit back underneath there on each side, 6 inches by 2. Trim the top back on this edge, cut it back overall, and then figure out how to carve this hole out of it. And pretty good. Now I'll cut it off the face, do the same on the other side. Alright, so we got this guy, it's going to be sitting back in there. The oarlock coming through, and we need to make this sort of oval opening that supports the bottom brass bearing here as much as we can, the top here, and yet provides ability to get the cotter pin in and for that cotter pin to turn 180 as the oarlock is turned on top of this. It'll be a bit of a puzzle, we'll see. So I'm thinking we cut 2 drill bits there that'll make the end of whatever this shape ends up being. Then take the center out, I guess. See how to connect the dots then. Got the opening roughed in, looks about like I think it needs to be. I think what needs to happen now is the scary step of cutting in these holes to let in the brass bushing above and below, right on through the seat, and then ensure that it's basically going to work with the cotter pin situation. So we'll try that. I'm going to go in 1/8 to get that lip. It's scary. Going in 1 1/8 on the edge so that the cotter pin will not, it's 1 1/8 basically in all directions. It won't bang on this back here, and to make it easier to get it in and out, probably as close to the edge as we can manage. Alright, so we got that guy, so when it should sit flush, and our center mark we can follow through on. This is the right diameter, but this is slightly smaller, and I don't have an 11/16 paddle bit, so I think what I'm going to do is take the 5/8 all the way through the seat. That'll leave a little bit of slop, and set it in there with good old solve every problem epoxy putty. Let's see if we can keep this centered. And when I drive that all the way in, the bottom of this bushing should just be about at our hole, getting maximum support for it from this wood, transferring the stress to the rail and the seat and the hull. I need to make sure that this next guy is exactly centered. So that should take us, let's give this a shot. Got a lower bushing in there. You have to glue something underneath it to hold it. But the idea is exactly what I needed. Let's do the other side and then clean this up, make it look pretty. Alright, last thing we need, I think, is a different cotter pin hole to go into that oval. This guy's going to be down in the middle of the side bench. So we'll see if we can get that done. Keep the bit cool. Go straight through. One last test. Alright, there's our little cotter pin opening. 180-degree capability. I really like it. Alright, clean it up and get ready to another coat of epoxy on all this top surface as well as locking this guy in.
Oh.
What's that?
D.
Uh-huh.
C-O.
Uh-huh.
This is the N.
Right.
Do you know what that spells?
I did.
Eldon.